What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. My number 5 favorite horror movie board game, Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. Come on, this is a board game based on what is, or at least is arguably, what is the first ever science horror novel ever written by the great Mary Shelley. Yeah, we need more board games that have basis and seeds, like this. So this, in itself, this game is kind of like a sequel, you could say. In this game, you're going to be playing characters that are racing to recreate Dr. Frankenstein's formula for life, and to create another new Adam. I believe that's what Dr. Frankenstein called him in the book, a new Adam. Well, as you can imagine, a game based on a novel that is based on body stealing. This game does have some wonderfully morbid corpse tokens that are 100% thematically perfect for this game and setting. And I think it really helps bring the game to life and adds a little bit of fun. Speaking of thematic, I mean, it's not just these body part corpses tokens, but pretty much everything in the game is made to be visually, thematically matching, with the setting, with the theme of this game, this Frankenstein theme. From collecting blood, not just the body parts, but you're collecting blood, bones. It adds up to the creepy factor, but it's also natural. Now, there's a few different strategies, and this is something else I enjoy. There's a few different strategies that can be used. It's not just like a race on one concept, one idea. You can go about the board and work your way to possible victory a couple of different ways. Not that it's completely sandbox, but, whenever a board game gives you several different options to a path of victory, it does make it feel a little sandbox-y-ish, in a sense. And I always enjoy that in a board game. Now, another thing that's another big plus for me that I find in this game is asymmetrical characters. It's great. It is absolutely wonderful when you're playing a game where you're more than just a different color or different shape of pawn than your opponents. You actually have something valuable, something different that they can't do. So this does bring the asymmetrical sense of individual powers and abilities, things that you can do in the game that the other players can. So that always works out great. Now, altogether, you look at the multiple paths, so victory points, you're looking at all the different options that this game gives you. It is a very, at its core, it really is a very deeply strategic worker placement game as far as this goes, as well with resource management too, of all the body parts and blood and bones and everything that you go around collecting. So yeah, that brings it to life in a more real sense, I think, helping with the suspension of disbelief on top of everything else that this game brings to you. It's a very, very dark game for something that's so fun. But we've enjoyed it. I enjoy it, and that's some of the reasons. I think this game is something that more people should play. 4. My number 4 favorite horror movie board game, Fury of Dracula. Now, this definitely is along the lines, the concepts of, what if Bram Stoker penned an actual sequel to his novel Dracula? This kind of answers that question. We see all of the heroes from the original novel returning to help stop Dracula, who has miraculously risen from the dead and is now trying to overtake Europe with his power, with his slaves, with his minions and minor vampires, his Renfield types. He wants to take everything over, and you're the only ones that know how to do it. Although it didn't work last time. It really brings this intense cat and mouse movement, plotting, planning, strategizing to the game. It's a one versus all system with somebody taking on the role of Dracula and the others taking on the role of the hunters, like Mina Harkin, Jonathan Harkness. So it does bring everything familiar from the core source material right there onto the board on the middle of your table. And sitting right there is one of the most beautiful maps that I've ever seen. It is completely made in honor and homage to maps from the Elizabethan time period. And it definitely shows through, and it helps bring you more into the game. Now, on top of that, the miniatures that you're moving on the board. Well, you don't move the Dracula miniature. Unless something happens where you encounter the hunters, you're off the board. You're off the board secretly moving. Hidden movement game. I love hidden movement games. But the pieces that are on the board to represent where the hunters are moving, or Dracula, if they catch him somewhere, are wonderful pieces. If you're a painter, I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that you're going to really enjoy bringing these miniatures to life with a good paint job on them. The game delivers more than just a manhunt to it. At its heart, it's a manhunt game, but it brings so much more to that, with a lot deeper strategy, with all of the traps and the tricks that Dracula can lay for the hunters. It brings it to a much deeper level than just manhunt, than just hide and seek, hidden movement. While you're tracking him or trying to track him, finding these clues let you know you're getting closer. But by finding these clues, you're having to deal with things he has set in motion already. Traps from wild animals under his control to newly made vampires that are going to outright attack you. And I like the rock, paper, scissors style combat that it delivers too, with the cards, all having multiple meanings and multiple uses in the game. And during combat, it does deliver a very basic but useful, and it works, speedy combat version of rock, paper, scissors, basically. One symbol can outdo another symbol. That's it. But it works, and it keeps things moving really fast. This is a game that if you are a fan of Dracula, the movies, the novels, not only are you going to enjoy playing it, but it's going to look nice in your Dracula collection. My number 3 favorite horror movie board game. The Thing, Outpost 31. You know you are a human. Oh, yes, you are. But what about them? What about everybody else? Just like Carpenter's movie, this aims to bring distrust to the table. You are never going to know who to trust other than yourself. Are they fooling you? Are they leading you along? Or are they honestly doing everything they can to help put this thing down and escape with no taint? Because if even one person turns out to be infected by this thing from outer space, the whole game is lost. So the level of tension that this brings because of the paranoia is wonderful. I really do like games like this. So this also helps bringing John Carpenter's classic sci-fi shocker horror remake of the 1950s Thing from Outer Space to life by bringing all the characters from the movie into the game. And as I mentioned earlier, this game also deals with asymmetrical characters. They all have their own different abilities, and that brings them different strategies to each character that you're playing. And it also helps bring the movie to life. That the more than just a board game, that it is the damn movie. So while you're moving all these characters around, another thing I appreciate about the game is there's a little bit of a time factor, because the entire post is starting to burn down around you. So while you're trying to collect clues, while you're trying to piece things together, you're trying to get to the helicopter, trying to make sure nobody is infected, you're doing this all while things are an inferno around you, adding a little more tension, a little more excitement, because you know that the time is ticking out from underneath your feet. Now, just like the movie, another great piece of tension in this game is how long can you trust someone you honestly believe you can trust? Because people that are unaffected in the beginning of the game may very well become infected during the game. So the process of trust is almost like, well, a revolving door. And that just adds to the level of strategy, to the deep level of thinking, of anticipation that you, the player, are going to have to do. This game is keeping you on your toes with pretty much every single damn move. The miniatures are okay. They're not the best miniatures I've ever seen, but they're definitely okay. I really do enjoy, though, the 3 different sizes. There's 3 different forms or phases that the infection, that the thing from outer space is actually taking. They did I think they put most of their miniature thought and work into those 3, and it paid off. Those 3 do look great, and they add a definite sort of like, what the fuck level to the miniatures when you see these things coming down the corridor at you. This game is an homage and a love letter, really, to the John Carpenter movie, The Thing. And any fan, I think, should be playing this game, or at least try it out once. My number 2 favorite horror movie board game, Jaws. Just when you thought it was safe to go to the water, this game takes the original concept, well, the movie concept. There's not much of the nuances of the novel here, the Peter Benchley novel in this, but the Steven Spielberg movie plot and ideas come through much, much stronger here. Recreating the movie in a board game in 2 scenes. As fitting for the movie, the plot of the story, the first scene is the beach. And this is a hidden movement 1 versus all game. Really enjoy those. Where one player is playing Bruce, the shark. And the other 3 players are playing Hooper, Brody, and Quint. And they're going around the beach. They're maybe in Quint's boat, trying to get resources and stop the shark from getting resources. Stop the shark from doing as many beach killings as it can, because both the shark player and the human players get bonuses during this round, during this scene, that's going to carry over into the second and last scene, which brilliantly, and of course, takes place on the Orca. I think you're going to need a bigger boat. So, Brody, Quint, Hooper, and the shark, obviously, they all have their own special abilities, their uniqueness in the game. That's been a common theme, I think, through this list so far. And between the 2 scenes, you're fighting and battling each other. But I love the shark's hidden movement work through the water, the depths of the water, and the guesswork, especially on the Orca, the second scene, the guesswork that the players then have to do in order to figure out where the shark is going to attack next. While it's quite literally tearing the boat apart. The tiles of the boat being flipped to the destroyed side. Meanwhile, they're trying to kill the shark as fast as they can before the shark gets them all in the water and just chomp, 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 chomp. This game, I found it to be very well balanced. Any of the times that I've played it, It seems that no matter which side you play, they all play well. I was not overpowered as the shark. I was not overpowered playing the humans. You could do this as a 2-player game very easy. You don't need to have 4 players. You could have one human player running all of the humans, and another player running the shark, running Bruce. Very well balanced. You don't find that a hell of a lot in a lot of games. Sometimes they almost feel rushed out. But this one, I do not get that feeling at all. I enjoy it very much, and I'm glad they went to the extra effort to make sure that both sides are going to feel like they have an equal chance of winning. My number 1 favorite horror movie board game. Alien: Fate of the Nostromo. This game brings the chest-popping, survival, resource-gathering feel and experience of that original Alien movie. It brings it to life in a great resource run of a way that the board game can do. Ridley Scott and Dan O'Bannon's horror science for sci-fi movie was a phenomenon when it first came out, and I think that the few current board games that are out for it right now, like this one, are long overdue. They do a good job, a very good job, of bringing to life the individual characters from the original Alien movie. They're all represented here as playable characters in the game, and they all bring something different to the game, something that they can do that the others can't. This game is also very familiar to anybody that has played Ravensburger's Horrified series, any of the Horrified games. This uses the same basic mechanics behind it, and a lot of the same thought process, and strategies will work similar. So if you know one of the games, you're going to know this. You're going to know this pretty well going right into it, which has helped all my players be able to jump into this game immediately. I've had fun upgrading the game's difficulty, and you primarily do this by introducing Ash, the robot, the android, the synthezoid, whatever the hell they called him in the movie. Yes, nobody can play Ash, but he will be, if you incorporate him in the game, he is running around the board, taking your resources from you before you get a chance to get them. He could even be stealing them from you if you encounter him. So that adds a great level of difficulty where you're trying to fend off the xenomorph that's running rampant through the ship. And once you play the game a few times, you're probably definitely going to want to incorporate Ash. The miniatures in this game, miniatures look good, they look fun, they're in good, unique poses. They're all not just standing there like wax statues. There's a little bit of action to it, brings them to life a little bit more than some miniatures I've seen in other games. The xenomorph miniature is great, the way it towers over the others. And the fact that it's not always kind of on the board. Well, it is on the board, but its movement is different. It can move step by step like the players do, but also because of the hatchways, it can potentially pop up anywhere at any moment on the ship. And that adds a level of tension to the game. You think you know where the xenomorph is. You think you're safe if you go here, there, or the other place. But then you flip one of the investigation tokens when you get to an area, and boom, there he is, coming out of the bulkhead or something at you. So it keeps you on your toes. The game brings to it some different missions. During the course of the game, there are several missions out of a bunch of missions that you're going to blindly choose that you're going to have to do in order to get to the final end mission, just in order to survive. Because of this, it's bringing a little bit more of a level of replayability than you would have seen without it. And I don't think we've played everything exactly the same twice so far. Because there are enough options that when they get mixed up, they're going to give you a lot of different roads and paths that you're going to be taking while you're playing this game. If you're looking for a fast, fun, easy experience that's not an overly complicated dungeon delve of an Alien game, you're looking for something quick, fun, easy. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is definitely up your alley. And that is why it is my number 1 favorite horror movie board game to play.